Okay, we are live. Hello, everyone. Welcome to tonight's episode of Navigator Nuggets. My name is Dr. Nicole Rochester. For those who don't know me, I am a board certified pediatrician, a former caregiver to my dad, an independent health advocate, and the CEO of Your GPS Doc. And I am thrilled, honored, excited, all of the emotions to have two very special guests with me tonight. Tonight, you are going to get to hear from two of my superheroes. And I intentionally call them superheroes because that's what they are. For those of you watching who are caregivers, you know exactly how difficult it is to care for someone. And I do believe that caregivers are superheroes. I think that the things that we are asked to do on behalf of our loved ones just really goes above and beyond. And I do consider it a sacrifice. I also consider it an extreme honor. And so I have, for the first time ever, the opportunity to introduce you all to two of my former clients. So this is a very special moment for me. I'm so thankful that they both agreed. So if you know a caregiver, go ahead and share this broadcast, tag them in the comments, call them on the phone, let them know to tune in so that they can join us on this broadcast. So I just want to start by having my two superheroes introduce themselves. And then we're really just going to have a discussion. We're going to have them talk about their caregiving journey. And I really wanted them to share their experience working with me and working with a health advocate, because I still hear from those of you who have absolutely no idea how all of this works. So why don't we start with Rayna? Rayna, introduce yourself to the Your GPS Doc audience.
Hi, my name is Rayna Phillips. My mom's name was Mary Evans. She passed away last year, but I came to know Nicole we're both sorority sisters, through another sorority sister who I don't think she realized how poignant and her name is Nicole also, telling me about Nicole's business, because I was pretty much at my wit's end trying to take care of my mom, trying to work. I'm married, and it was just, yeah, to find out that Nicole had this business. I don't even have the words to to say how much of a godsend she was, and the things that she offered, the services that she offered, and how much it benefited me.
Thank you, Raina. And we'll get a little bit more into Raina's story with her mom shortly. And Hailee.
Hello, hi there. My name is Hailee Beltuber. I am currently in Rock Hill, South Carolina, and my mom's name is Sherry Hare. She is, honestly doing really well, and I'm very thankful to have had Dr. Rochester along for my journey as well, just because it really did give me a comfort that I needed so desperately during that time. But yeah, cool.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you. So we already had a chance to catch up. We had our little reunion before I went live. Otherwise, you guys would have heard all the screaming and squealing. But I guess I wanted to start out by having each of you share what would you say was your biggest challenge when you were in the throes of caregiving? And I'm sure there are probably many. If there's two or three big ones, but if you think back over all the issues and all the things that you struggled with, is there one that really just kind of stands up at the forefront? So Hailee, we'll start with you on that.
I think the biggest challenge for me is just the pressure of making decisions. Like, bottom line, just having people look at you to know, what you want to do with a person, and like, it's my mom. So it's really difficult to say, okay, let's do this. I think this is the best idea when I'm 22 years old and don't really have a lot of experience with the healthcare system. I'm young. I don't really even go to the doctor myself, which is horrible, but just being in that environment with people that are so much older than me and have so much education and just seem so uppity and like know a lot. And I didn't know how to communicate. I didn't know how to make decisions. I didn't know just how to represent my mom in a time when she wasn't there for me to say, hey mom, what do I do?
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm reflecting on what you said about, you are 22. I mean, I cannot imagine. I was in my 40s. I was 40 when my sisters and I first started taking care of my dad. And at 40, and even being a physician, I mean, I was completely overwhelmed. And I had two sisters. Like, it was three of us literally tag teaming it. Yeah. So I mean, and that's one of the reasons I wanted Hailee to join us, is that, that you don't hear a lot about the young carers, the young caregivers. There are a lot of people in Hailee's generation and even younger who are caring for, ill parents and even siblings and things like that. And I feel like your generation isn't highlighted a lot when it comes to caregiving. And I was just so impressed with Hailee and her tenacity. I mean, Hailee gave, you called them up. Hailee gave those doctors and nurses a run for the money. And I hate to portray it as like a adversary.
No, that's my mama. That's all I gotta say, is that's my mama.
We'll chalk it up to your mom. But seriously, like, Hailee just really, I mean, I can't even tell you how she was very confident, and just, she knew you may have felt out of your element, and of course, I helped guide you, but Hailee she knew a lot on her own, and she also had a lot of support from her family members as well. So the decision making was the hardest for you. What about you, Rayna? What would you say was the biggest challenge when you were caring for your mom?
The biggest challenge was not quite understanding what was happening to her, because she was my mother, although I'm 54 years old. So this started kind of happening. My dad passed in 2013. So, late 40s, early 50s. And I'm originally from New Jersey. We ended up moving her down here to Maryland in 2017. And that's when I really was around her a lot. So because we had her in an assisted living facility and stuff like that. So I was around her a lot, and I wasn't sure. My biggest challenge was I was not sure what was going on inside of her brain. I knew something was happening, and some of it I would take the brunt of it, but then sometimes mom would be mom. Like, I'm like, oh, she's okay, she's still mommy. But then other times I could, and that was the hardest thing for me, because she would lash out, or she'd, say that there were demons in the room, or, it was just, and I wasn't sure if she was playing, or I just that was the hardest part. Because I swear I was riding a roller coaster every day with her. She'd call me, and I would think the world is coming to an end, and she'd be like, I just want a pack of gum. And I'm like, or something like, yeah. But the brain is just, it's her brain. Yeah. She was, losing memory. I wasn't sure if it was Alzheimer or dementia, which I found out later on. Yeah, it probably was dementia. My mom was a registered nurse as well. She worked for years as a registered nurse. So, I'm not in the nursing field. Yeah. I didn't know what to do or how to ask questions. And I wanted to turn to her to ask, but now I had to be the adult. She reverted to the child, and I had to step up to it. But that was the hardest part, because I wanted to lash out. I was so mad at her, but then I said, I can't, because there is something going on.
It's so hard. We took care of our dad. You guys both took care of your mom. It's really hard, I think, regardless of your age, having those tables turn and having to kind of be the person in charge, so to speak, of your parent. And it's frustrating. I mean, like, we had moments where I'll just speak for myself. I would get very frustrated with my dad, and he also had some dementia. And like you said, there'd be good days and bad days. And there were often days where I felt like there were things he could do that he was refusing to do. And, and it just, the stress of that and wanting them to just be well it can be very overwhelming. It can be very overwhelming. So how did you all even hear about health advocates? I mean, I would say generally 9 times out of 10, if I'm in, a social environment or wherever, and somebody asks me what I do and I explain it, the 2 things I hear most often are, oh my gosh, I wish I had known about you when, and then they tell some horror story, Or the second thing is they go, what is that? Like, I didn't even know that there were people out here that do that. So I'm curious as to how you all even heard about health advocates. Rayna, you told a little bit of the story. Well, I'll start with you then. You want to explain, like, how did you even find me? Had you ever heard of a health advocate?
I had never heard of it before. I wish I had known you existed long ago. I would have definitely hired you years ago. Again, Dr. Rochester and I are sorority sisters. Another sorority sister was in town from Seattle. So me and the other sorority sister named Nicole went to the CVS. She's talking to this Nicole. So while she was on hold, she was like, yeah, oh, you know what, Rayna? She does this care, helps people with their, loved ones. She's like a caregiver advocate. And I'm looking at her like, all the stories I've told you about my mother, and you're just telling me casually in the CVS or Rite Aid or wherever we were. I was like, are you kidding? I was like, yes, oh my God, I need her number. So Dr. Rochester and I hit it off immediately. Because I immediately reached out to her because I needed help. I always would say, I don't speak hospital, I don't speak law, I don't speak, if it's not in my background, I don't know what to do. So when doctors are talking, about my mom or something like that, stuff is flying over my head. I have 3 college degrees. None of them are in medicine. So I can't, no matter how smart you think you are, I couldn't follow. And it was overwhelming me. It was extremely overwhelming. So again, I see why people say, wow, I wish I had known about you. I wish I'd known years ago, because your services needs to be out there a whole lot more.
Yeah, thank you. And what about you, Hailee? How did you guys find me? Or had you ever heard of this field? Or
I have to start off by saying that one of the doctors, when I first mentioned that I was using a health advocate, the doctors caring for my mom looked at me and said, what is that? And I don't know if you remember, we had a lot of issues with this hospital, ethically, truthfully, more than anything. And at one point they said that we couldn't use you, and like that threw me off, and it was just this whole thing. But just to say, there are even doctors that don't know that you are a super weapon that we can pull out as regular people and say, look, I can figure this out and you're going to listen to me. Because I do have somebody that has the right education, like you're saying, to explain things to me more than anything. Like that was just the most valuable thing, like Rayna was saying. But anyway, the way that I found out about you is that my cousin, Stacy, she kind of was very present with me during all of my mom's health battle. And she basically was listening to NPR, and Dr. Wendy Dean came on and was talking a lot about just how the medical system is structured to where you can't know things a lot of the time.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. And Wendy Dean actually brought up medical advocacy, and you came up somehow in the NPR episode, I think. I'll have to text Stacy and ask her, but Stacy was like, well, why don't we look into the medical advocate? And at this point, like, I'm like in the lobby of the hospital, just like done. And I've been arguing with the, coordinator of the ICU, and she's still refusing to let me do anything that I need to do. And I was just finally at my wit's end, and we called, Dr. Rochester, and it was again, the most comforting thing that I could have had with me the whole time was having Dr. Rochester through a phone anytime I needed her, anytime. Like, I think maybe one time she didn't answer the phone. Literally one time. And I got a phone call back 3 minutes later, because I'm, Rayna, you probably can attest to this also, but doctors move so quickly. I mean, I would drive to the hospital at 5 a.m. to sit there and wait because they never have a time they're going to come in. And there's just all these little things about, an experience with a loved one in the hospital that you can't manage. Mm-hmm. And it got to the point where I was just taking, notes and writing down names and times and definitions and calling Dr. Rochester and just having her decode it all for me, so that whenever a doctor looked at me and asked, what do you want to do? I could make an educated decision, and I wasn't just in the dark saying, oh, well, you're the hospital, you're obviously working in my best interest, do whatever you feel you need to. So
Yeah.
I went on a tangent there, but
there's something I want to piggyback on what Hailee said. So last year when my mom was in the hospital, it was a Saturday. My husband and I were at his family reunion, and I got a call from the doctor. He's talking hospital talk, talking medical talk. I don't talk that language.
Yes.
And I called Nicole, and I know it was a Saturday afternoon, and it was starting to rain. So I was like, oh, it's probably a perfect day for her to sleep. But she immediately answered the phone.
Right?
And I was a little hesitant to call her because I was like, oh, it's Saturday. And I think I even said that because I'm telling her what the doctor was saying. And Nicole said, do you want me to talk to him? And you didn't see this, Nicole, because of course we were on the phone, but I'm like, oh, like, yes, yes. And I said, yeah, can I? So I called him and we did a three-way.
Yeah.
What I was so happy about, because he started right in, but he started in trying to question her on her credentials.
Yes.
Oh,
and I was sitting there thinking, we're talking about my mother. Like,
yes.
And my mom ended up passing away not long after that, but she had an infection. There was a lot of stuff going on. And this dude is trying to question her about where'd you go to, what's your specialty? I brought her in. I did. I'm my mom's daughter.
Yeah.
I brought this doctor in. Please tell her what is going on. But she handled it. Nicole, you handled that very well. Because I wanted to say something, but I was like, nope, she's my advocate. I'm going to sit back and she handled it well.
Oh, same exact thing. I have to piggyback really quick too. Same exact thing. Literally having her in the room with you is like, you can just sit back and be like, answer to that, Like, it's like.
You like that.
Right? Oh, I loved it.
Wow.
I loved it.
Yes.
Again, I couldn't have done it without Dr. Rochester.
No way.
I appreciate that. I think part of my reason for having you on tonight is not only to share your story with other caregivers and other friends of caregivers, but also, I have lots of friends who are doctors and nurses and other, medical in the medical field. And you're right, Hailee. I mean, even the doctors aren't familiar with health advocacy. And unfortunately, as both of you have said, because they're not familiar, the natural tendency, and unfortunately, I can say with every client that I've had so far, maybe this will change in a few years, there has been resistance at the beginning.
Oh, yeah.
And I get it. I think part of it is just a natural defensiveness. Unfortunately, when some healthcare professionals hear that a patient or a patient's family has brought in someone else, even if they say, and I'm going to be honest, as a doctor, I remember families or patients saying, well, we're going to call my brother. My brother's a doctor, or my brother's a surgeon, and there is this immediate, your immediate reaction is you don't do it in front of them, but you're like eye rolling, like, oh boy.
Right.
And I think that most and this is an ego thing. Like, I'm fully owning this. I think that it's an ego thing. And as you said, Rayna, like it should be about the patient. But the initial reaction I have found is that there's this reluctance, there's this resistance, and I think their ego may be bruised a bit, and they're wondering, well, why do you need this person? Or what, how are they gonna help you? And I think they immediately, some of them think that I'm an adversary. And so part of the beauty, I think, of being both a doctor and a health advocate is that I just cut straight through to that from the beginning, and I don't come into it trying to make it seem like I'm better than you or I know more than you, but I also don't take any mess when it comes to my clients. And I make it very clear I'm a physician. And I also try from the beginning to establish a collaboration. I will say things like, I'm here to help you. I'm here to help the family understand what's going on. And a lot of times when I'm having those private conversations with the physicians, I'm telling them, like, is there anything that you would like to share? I'm going to be calling Rayna back when we get off the phone, or I'm going to be speaking with Hailee and her brother in a few minutes. Is there anything that you would like me to say? Or are there any concerns that you have? So that they understand that really the job of a health advocate is to be a liaison. It's not, we're not looking for boxing matches, but specifically with Hailee, we won't name the institution, but I am going to say, and Hailee alluded to this, I mean, the institution was extremely resistant and said that they needed to talk with their legal team. Now, granted, Hailee, they hired me, they paid for my services, they entered into I entered into a contractual agreement with them, which includes a HIPAA authorization form. So for those of you watching who, aren't really familiar with health advocacy, when we work with clients, we have them sign a HIPAA authorization form, because I can't do my job without having access to the medical records and the doctors and the nurses. I need to be able to call up to that hospital or that nursing home, and they're going to protect the patient's privacy. So they're not going to just talk to me just because I say I'm Dr. Rochester. So all of these forms are filled out in the very beginning of our relationship. And despite having, signed forms giving me permission, they were basically telling Hailee, we can't talk to her, and we're going to have to speak to our legal team. And I mean, it was crazy. But
it was insane.
Yeah, but it didn't take them long to get on board, because again, I'm used to dealing with these types of things, and Hailee was an extremely strong advocate. And I sent an email back with a few legal terms, and next thing you know, everything was fine, and they told Hailee they could talk to me. I say all that just to say that this just shows you, those of you that are watching, even when you hire a professional, there are still sometimes barriers that you have to push your way through, and trying to do this on your own, especially even if you're in the medical field, but especially if you're not. Like Rayna talked about hospital speak and doctor speak, this is your loved one at stake. And the doctors and the nurses mean well, but we've talked on previous episodes of Navigator Nuggets where the system is broken. I'm not saying the people are bad, because most of them are good. Right. But you have people working in a bad system. Yeah, Hailee.
Right. I want to butt in and say, I think the reason, or not the reason, but one of the many reasons is that they're so resistant is because it really does start to hold them accountable in a way that doctors aren't used to, from just my experience. Like, they'll tell you one day, for example, a certain number about a certain thing, and then, with having you and having a medical advocate to call and say, hey, I wrote down these numbers today. Like, why do we watch this number? And being able to have the conversation to explain the numbers, like you're saying, medical speak, like it just holds them accountable in a way that the next day I can say, hey, how were my mom's so-and-so levels today? And they're like, what? Like, why do you need to know that? And it's like, because I'm involved, and because I have someone involved that is going to educate me. Because again, like we're talking about this institution that we won't name, I had a doctor look at me and say, Google it. When I would ask him,
telling me that.
Yeah, when I would ask him a question, my mom was at this point, on a ventilator in ICU and had suffered cardiac arrest a few days before. And literally, I was asking him about the condition she was in, and he told me to Google it.
And after that,
can you believe that, Rayna?
And like,
I don't know how, Hailee, I probably would be in jail right now.
Listen, girl, like I said, that's my mama. That's my mama. And if Dr. Rochester wouldn't have been metaphorically holding my arms, it would have been it. I was ready.
Wow. Now, I also had experience with my dad. Because I didn't have an advocate at all. And I really was kind of thrusted into it, living here in Maryland, driving up to New Jersey, that he was in a rehab center. He was diabetic. So the reason they put him in that rehab center, that dialysis place was really good. But the rehab center was not that great. So what I would do, because I kept hearing all these stories from other people, and Nicole, I'm telling you, I wish I had known you then, but I was hearing stuff like, you don't know what kind of medication they're giving. Are they really taking care of your dad? So I would drive up to Jersey, which was like 2.5 hours, and just pop up in there. I used a lot of my leave at work, but if I came, hey, nurse so-and-so, what are you giving my dad? What is that? Oh, okay. What's that for? Yeah. Where's the doc? And then, I would randomly pop up, because then I was hearing stuff about abuse and stuff, even though my dad was alert and everything. I'm like, Dad, are you okay? Make sure you call me. So they knew me. The staff knew me after a while. That was really, really hard. That was tough.
Yeah.
But you shouldn't have to do that. You should not have to do it.
I know. I agree. You should. I think, I was going to ask you both how I was able to help you, but I think without me even asking that question, it's kind of naturally come up.
Oh yeah.
In the
Yeah.
conversation. Is there anything else you want to add about, just the value in your own words of having a health advocate?
I can say, I keep saying, there's not enough words. I was telling my husband that, what I was going to do tonight. And I said, you remember Nicole? You remember my Sarah, my sorority sister? And he was like, I said, remember the one that helped me with mommy, the one who was liaison? He was like, oh yeah, she was really good. Oh wow. Like, I'm glad we had her. I said, yes, yeah, and when I tell people about you, again, people don't know, but just the fact that, just like Hailee said, I could pick up the phone and call you, I could email you, maybe hit you up on a text. When we sat down on the phone and we talked and you sent me the contract and you explained to me how the business worked and everything and what would happen, I did not anticipate you being that readily available every time I needed you. I was hoping you would. You know how some people say, oh, this is what we're going to do, and they don't do it? Nicole, you did it. Every time. I'm telling you, I can't get past that Saturday, because again, my mom had an infection, and you explained it to me in layman's term because I could not understand what that meant. And I had to mentally prepare myself that I knew my mom, she was 80, almost 80. Yeah. She didn't want to be here anymore. She was a lot of stuff mentally, physically going on with her. So you were compassionate about it. I might cry. You were very compassionate.
My eyes are like,
yeah, all right. This is why, just so Facebook.
This is why we got our tissue.
This is why we got our tissues. Here they
are. But you were really compassionate about it. You were stern with that doctor. Because again, I wanted to jump in and say, look, dude, we're talking about my mother. I brought Nicole in here, but I know she's a doctor. Don't question her. Like, what's going on with my mom? But you handled that well. And then so I'm really gonna cry now. I was with my mom when she died. I literally saw her take her last breath. That was extremely hard. I've never seen anyone die, let alone my mom.
Yeah.
So Nicole was the first person I called after she passed. And I told her how my mom was breathing, and she explained to me what that was, because you get that kind of raspy kind of, breathing. So she explained to me, but again, she was the first person I called when my mom died, and she immediately answered the phone. I don't know how much better you can get than that, because I wanted to talk to somebody who knew what was going on, what had just happened. I didn't need to talk to friends or family, because you basically tenderly, gingerly explained to me how that transition happened, why. I just felt comforted by your words, and that's so another thing. I couldn't have gotten that from a doctor.
Yeah.
And even when the nurse came in to basically say that my mom had passed, she checked her pulse, she checked her heart with the stethoscope, and she just told me and my brother, she's gone. And that was it. And then you really start thinking, wow, this person that raised me as my mom is never going to be who she was. But the only thing I got from the nurse was, she's gone. And then she left, out of the room. So thank you, Nicole. Thank you. Sorry.
You're welcome. Rayna, I mean, it was my honor. You already know that. It was my well, Hailee.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Sorry.
I mean, not to, bring in current events too much, but with everything you're seeing going on with, police brutality, it is very much mirrored and not represented right now, because there hasn't been, I think, a big thing the media can latch onto yet. But there is a very similar situation with people becoming so immune to what they're doing on a daily basis that they can, like Rayna said, look at you and just say, she's gone, and just act like, this isn't a loved one that raised you and cared for you your whole life. And
yes,
more than anything, Dr. Rochester, you made me feel like I had a doctor with me through everything. Like, even though you were not in the room, looking at monitors and with the machines, I trusted you more than I trusted anybody else throughout the entire thing, because it was the compassion and it was the honesty. There were sometimes things that were hard for you to tell me, but you did in a way that wasn't callous, and I think that right now that's just something that we're really struggling with, as a nation, is these jobs that require people to do these gruesome things and just becoming immune to it. Mm-hmm. And you are a person that is doing a service right now that I know 9 out of 10 people I know could use in some form, whether it's for themselves. When I go to the doctor, honestly, sometimes I want to call you. I don't know what they're saying. And, there's just there's so much that goes on that we as just regular people, don't understand, because it's a whole different, ball game than any other profession. Yeah. And just through everything, you were honest and comforting, and again, I think your tagline should be, I always answer the phone, because there was never a time that I was like, crap, this doctor's in the room and Dr. Rochester won't answer. I was always like, hold on 1 second for me. And just immediately, like I said, you are calling us superheroes and you are the super weapon, I
like that, super weapon.
Yeah, that's what it is. And that's I just true. Love and adore you as a person also. You're awesome. And
thank you. I feel the same way about you all. I tell you, I just, I can't believe I got that without crying. This is like a huge feat.
And I wanted to say, even though, you're not working for me anymore, I don't particularly need your services at this point. Your number was not going to leave my phone, just FYI. Ever.
Please keep me in your phones, both of you. Rayna and I got a chance to see each other because the mutual friend, the sorority sister that she's been referring to, had a 50th birthday party. So we got a chance to see each other on Zoom. Hailee and I text every now and then. I just still check in. How are you doing? I'll check in. How are you doing? I appreciate that you all said that. I'm just who I am. I'm just Nicole. And you never really know. I know that I was helpful to both of you, and that's my goal, is to really, really take the weight off of my clients' shoulders, because I've been there. I know.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah, I know what it's like, and I wish that I had known about this field when my sisters and I were caring for my dad. So that's really my primary goal, is just to take some of that weight off of you and put it onto me. But even in doing so, you don't really know how you're coming across, or so hearing you all say this today. And I'm not doing this to get all these kudos and things like that, but it really is helpful, because it lets me, it affirms and reaffirms for me that I'm doing the right thing. Every now and then I'll see a little kid and I'll look at my stethoscope that's kind of dusty in my closet right now. every now and then, I'll just think did I make the right decision? And should I be doing something else? And it's because of you all and your moms and everyone else, all of my other clients, that, I just get that affirmation and that confirmation that I'm doing exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. So, this is just hearing you from you all, and just being able to spend this time with you. Honestly, it's just so, I knew it was going to be rewarding, but this has been beyond what
I can tell you right now. You may say that you are just Nicole, but I have not met one singular person, doctor or not, that has been as dependable as you are. And especially in a situation where you just want someone to give you answers, but you always gave information, and that's the step that is always forgotten about. And
I appreciate
it's absolutely what you should be doing, because we need you. We collectively as a society need you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I guess I want to wrap up. This is not a free service, and I will be very transparent and say that, I get calls from many families that need me. And some of them, unfortunately, when they find out that it's not covered by their health insurance, either they're unable to pay, or they think they're unable to pay, or they're unwilling. Some people honestly just can't afford it. Other people maybe could afford it, but aren't really clear, whether it's worth it. So I would like for you all, without discussing the fees, but like, how did you get past that? I mean, you actually paid for me to help advocate for your family member. What can you say about the, paying for the services and whether it was worth it, or anything you want to say about cost? Because I don't want to leave this broadcast without talking about that this is an investment.
Yeah.
So I can say my dad was retired military, and even though he passed away first, my mom was set up, to live comfortably. So even if she did not have the means for your service, I would have kicked in myself. Me and my husband would have made it work somehow, because when you think about the weight that is on you, trying to take care. I mean, it's one thing if it's a child, you're taking care of your own child, because after a while the child's going to learn things, and after a while they're going to get big and they're going to be more independent and go on and with life. But as you are the caregiver for your parent, it literally is reversing. So this person is never going to be independent and go on with their life. They're literally going backwards. Right. So to have that type of heaviness on you, just continually thinking about this, there was no way from my own mental capacity that I could have just done it myself. It was too much. It was just too much, because I'm literally doing that, running her to appointments, getting referrals from her nurse practitioner, trying to set up appointments and it was overwhelming. Who takes this insurance? Who does that? Plus, I was in graduate school. Plus, I'm working full time. And just dealing with things day to day. I'm married. I get, all this stuff I'm trying to deal with. I never thought I would have an opportunity to delegate the caregiving of my mother, or even just to help. You know what I mean? Because I felt I had to control everything, but I needed somebody to be on my side. So it was worth the investment because it was for her. Yeah. You can't put a price on a human life. Even though she's not here anymore, I hope that I gave her a little bit more life. You know what I mean? I prolonged her life as much as I could. And if it took whatever amount, Nicole, you could have charged $1 million. I would probably have been tap dancing on the street corner.
Yes.
I would have been tap dancing all day and night, but
yep. Agreed.
Because it was too much. I mean, you think about it, it was a short time, but I swear, I felt like I had been working with you for years. Because that's just how long, it's just so heavy on you. I keep forgetting. Oh my God, that was only like 4 months, 4 or 5 months. Wow. But
it feels like forever.
Yeah. So it was worth it. I really wish that your services can be supplemented financially by like a corporation or something. I understand, insurance, it's a business, blah, 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 and all this stuff. But as soon as you said that, the first thing I thought of was, what's his name? Bill Gates, the Gates Foundation, something Bill like Gates.
That. Somebody tag Bill Gates.
Right, exactly.
I will.
Yes.
This is, Rayna said it, but like, this should be a much bigger industry, equivalent to the medical industry, to be honest with you, because you need a person that's going to have the education and devote the time, because you don't get both of those from a regular doctor.
Right. No, you don't.
Yeah, ever, in any situation. I also couldn't have said it any better than Rayna did. It was not about the money in that moment. And, I'm blessed right now because it wasn't really out of my pocket. My mom was also set up to have those means, but no, you could have charged $1 million and I would have signed a check, because the comfort.
I could charge $1 million.
Don't do it though, Nicole. Don't do it.
Don't do it. But that's the other thing is, it is an investment, but it's an investment like you're investing in a family member, and it is a service that you need, and not anybody that I have met other than Dr. Rochester provides it. to be honest.
Right.
So,
and could you imagine, sorry, Hailee, but just to piggyback, could you imagine a doctor telling us about our mothers something that may sound good, because to our layman ears, we don't know any better. And then if Nicole wasn't there, you know, we'd be like, okay, yeah, that sounds good. And then we find out, let her know. And she's like, oh my God, no, don't let them do that, or something. That's why.
Happened a few times. That happened a few times. There were times when a doctor would try to give me a shorthand answer about something, and Dr. Rochester would be like, no, wait, ask them this. Make them answer to you. And I was like, okay, Dr. Rochester. Like, no, you can't put a price on it. And I mean, it's an investment, but it's something that's more worth it than anything I've ever spent money on in my life.
Yeah, but I get it that people can't afford I get it. I get it. Times are hard. I definitely get it. That's why I'm saying, if there's some philanthropist out there that,
wants something to invest in. Yeah. Here it is right here.
Yes.
Look.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, we'll have to work on that. I appreciate all of you watching. Again, I need you to share this video, because again, what I hear most often is, oh my gosh, I wish I knew about you when something happened. And, this is not just about me. In fact, I want to address what Hailee just said when she said nobody else does this. There are other people that do this. So this is not just an ad for your GPS doc, although if you are watching and you like what you've heard and you have a need, I would be more than happy. You've heard how I work with my clients. They're not being paid.
From the heart.
Yeah. So if you are watching and you want to learn more about my business and how I help people like Hailee and Rayna and others, you can go to my website, yourgpsdoc.com. If you want to book a 30-minute complimentary consult call so you can talk directly with me and find out how I could possibly help and how my services, the fees and all of that, you can go to calendly.com/yourgpsdoc. I'll put all that in the comments. But more importantly, I just want you all to know that we exist. So there is a directory for health advocates. So I'm not the only one. This field is growing, and I think it's going to continue to grow because of the broken healthcare system that we have and because of the needs that Hailee and Rayna mentioned. But I'll put the link in the comments to the directory where, you don't have to hire me. You can find someone else. But if you are a caregiver, and as they've talked about, it's too much. It's too much to try to manage your own life, your job, your spouse, maybe you have kids, all of that, and manage your family member and all of the medical terminology and all the errors that are bound to happen and the dismissals that you're going to get from some of the healthcare professionals, and the fact that they don't have the time, or it's a lot, and your loved one deserves it. So, I encourage you all to at least look into it. Now you've had a chance to learn about what health advocates do. So take some time to do your own research. And if this is something that you think would be beneficial to you, which I think everybody needs a health advocate. It's funny when Hailee said, I'm at the doctor's office and I want to call you, because, most of what I do, I mostly work with people in crisis. But everybody could use a health advocate. I mean, and definitely if you have chronic health conditions, keeping up with all the medications and the doctor's appointments, and the doctors are not talking to one another. So anyway, that's a whole nother show. But but anyway, I just wanted you all to understand, because I talk a lot. I give you all these tips and Navigator Nuggets, and we talk about COVID and all the other stuff. But rarely do I get an opportunity to truly share how I help people. And I mean, I'm so appreciative of both of you for agreeing. This was amazing. And
I am thankful to tell people about you. I'm thankful to feel like I have an opportunity to tell people how awesome you and your services are. I really mean that.
Ditto. Ditto.
Well, I wish you all the best. You will hear from me. I will continue to text you every now and then, or shoot you an email, check in on you and your family, and make sure that you guys are okay. So we took a little break from COVID-19, which I think we all needed. Come back and join me next Monday night at 8:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for the next episode of Navigator Nuggets. You guys have an amazing week. Stay safe, stay home as much as possible. Continue to stay home. Take care.